Hello and good evening from Action 8 News. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis. Here are the top news stories for July 6, 2033.
Protesters continue to gather outside the Palo Alto headquarters of biotech startup Cortex, where the company is widely expected to announce the release of their Synaptic Impulse Module, or SIM chip. According to our sources, this device would be the first brain-machine interface approved for widespread public use. We now go live to Cortex CEO Tom Kellogg.
First, I'd like to welcome members of the press, as well as my esteemed colleagues, and to thank you all for attending. This is a historic day for Cortex, as we officially move the brain-machine interface, or BMI, out of the lab and into the mainstream. Some of you may be asking, what exactly is a BMI and how does it work? Well, I'm glad you asked. At its simplest level, a BMI is all about getting information into and out of the brain. If we want to input information, we must be able to stimulate specific neurons in the brain. If we want to output information, we must be able to record the neuronal firings of the brain. Since the brain has approximately 100 billion neurons, our main challenge has been how to access specific neurons within that vast number. No easy task, as you can imagine. Expanding on the groundbreaking work done at Stanford more than a decade ago, Cortex scientists have been able to achieve this extraordinary feat.
While BMI may seem like a new topic, what many don't realize is that the BMI research has been going on for almost 60 years. Up until now, most research has concentrated on using BMI to assist persons with disabilities. Here are a few of the major accomplishments to date. In the 1970s, researchers developed the first algorithms to control motor cortex neurons in monkeys. In the late 90s, researchers at Cal Berkeley were able to decode the retinal neuronal firings of cats in order to reproduce the images they were seeing.
Wait, so they recorded the signals from a cat's eyes and then were able to play those signals back in order to see what the cat was seeing? That's amazing.
That's right, Sal. Progress continued on the human side in the early 2000s as researchers were able to repair damaged sight and provide new functionality for people with paralysis. In addition, using a culture taken from a rat's brain, researchers at the University of Florida were able to grow a neural network in a petri dish that could control a flight simulator.
Excuse the expression, but that is mind-boggling. I'm not sure I could control a flight simulator using my entire brain.
That's not all. In 2014, direct communication between human brains over long distances became possible by sending the signals over the internet. Most recently, in 2021, Stanford researchers made a breakthrough that paved the way for the device announced at today's press conference.
Linda, this is really fascinating stuff.
It certainly is, Sal. Cortex actually received approval for human trials of their SIM chip back in 2027. While the company has received plenty of interest in the past from investors and the government, it appears that today's announcement has touched a nerve, so to speak, with the general public. For more, we go to Tammy Potter in the field.
That's right, Linda. This was the scene earlier tonight as dozens of people voiced their displeasure over the impending announcement. Meanwhile, more police have been brought in to try and keep this demonstration peaceful.
Thanks for that report, Tammy. Let's return to Cortex headquarters and rejoin the press conference in progress.
Okay, let's quickly review how the brain is organized. At a very basic level, there are three main layers of the brain. The brainstem. This is the layer responsible for keeping you alive by performing subconscious activities such as breathing, heartbeat, etc. The limbic system. This is the layer that receives input from your sensory organs and also provides muscle control. The cortex. This is the layer that processes the information from your sensory organs and is also responsible for language, movement, thinking, and personality. Here at Cortex, our researchers have been working for the last 12 years to access the third layer of the brain, rational thought. Today, I'm proud to say that we have achieved this. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride and pleasure that I present to you the Cortex Synaptic Impulse Module. I know that's a mouthful for anyone, so going forward, I'll refer to it simply as the SIM. There's not much to see here, as the SIM is smaller than a grain of rice. The device is surgically inserted between the brainstem and the cortex, where it can't interfere with basic body functions. We call this process symbiosis, which is easier to say than synaptic impulse module brain implant organically synthesized in situ. In plain English, advanced AI nanobots learn the neural pathways of the brain and adapt the interface accordingly. To communicate with the outside world, we've built in a tiny wireless transceiver. Since neurons are powered by the body, no power source is required. The power of having all the knowledge of human existence instantly available at all times is such an advancement or advantage that everyone will need to have one installed. At some point in the future, we expect the SIM to be as ubiquitous as the cell phone.
In other news, NASA, the European Space Agency, and other scientific organizations around the world today announced the formation of a joint coalition whose charter is to explore the colonization of Mars and beyond. The Global Earth Space Initiative, or GESI, has set an aggressive goal to have work started on a Mars colony within the next decade. Hello, and good evening from Action 8 News. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis. Here are the top news stories for January 1st, 2042.
Tomorrow marks the implementation of Symbiosis Phase 1, where under a new federal law, all children will be required to have a SIM implanted at birth. Introduced just 9 years ago under much controversy, the SIM has become such an essential part of human existence that the U.S. government decided that not having one would create an unnecessary disadvantage for an individual.
So in essence, this will create a more level playing field for the next generation.
Exactly. Much of the clamor over the SIM died down as people began to see the benefits of the device, and tensions were further eased with the signing of the Escalant Accords in 2038. As you may recall, those accords established some basic safeguards for SIM usage, such as built-in blockers to prevent mind control, mind reading, and memory wiping.
We must not allow the United States to gain this technological advantage. Inform the Prime Minister that we will begin implanting SIM chips in our newborns at once.
We cannot afford to fall further behind the superpowers. Widespread implementation of SIM technology amongst our people is a requirement if we are ever to rise above third world status.
Earlier today, Jesse officials held a groundbreaking ceremony as construction commenced on the first manned colony on Mars. Due to the enormous amount of material that must be transported from Earth, not to mention the 9-month journey each way, it will be several years before the colony is habitable.
In other space-related news, Europe's electrical grid experienced some serious problems, sparking fires and causing widespread blackouts across the region. The cause was attributed to a coronal mass ejection, or CME, whereby the sun releases a significant amount of plasma and magnetic particles. When a CME is pointed in the direction of Earth, as it was today, this bombardment of particles can disrupt communication satellites and damage sensitive electronic equipment, or worse, depending on the magnitude of the CME.
This could be a wake-up call to the dangers of CMEs.
Indeed. For more on this subject, we go to our science correspondent, Regina Franklin. Regina, what can you tell us about CMEs?
Well, first of all, the sun is constantly producing solar flares and CMEs. In fact, we are at the peak of the current 11-year solar cycle, when most of this activity typically occurs. Although solar flares and CMEs are not synonymous, they usually occur together as the changing magnetic fields of the sun twist and turn, until they suddenly snap apart to realign. As you mentioned, this can hurl solar radiation towards the Earth. The good news is that the Earth has some measure of protection against smaller events. Our dense atmosphere absorbs ionizing X-rays from solar flares, and our magnetic field deflects solar particles from CMEs out towards the poles. In fact, the spectacular displays known as aurora are caused by solar particles colliding with our atmosphere.
Interesting. Thanks, Regina. Hello, and good evening from Action 8 News. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis. Here are today's top news stories for January 1st, 2052. In a truly landmark day for all humankind, the first civilian inhabitants of Jesse's Mars colonization project arrived on the Red Planet. Up to this point, the colony had been manned only by Jesse contractors as they completed the construction of the infrastructure needed to sustain life on Mars.
In other news, today marks the 10th anniversary of Symbiosis Phase 1 and the beginning of Phase 2. Children who received implants 10 years ago at birth now have had time for the neural networks to completely form and are ready to undergo Symbiosis Phase 2. The SIM Brain Implant Occupation Selection and Integration System. The plan is to download the skill set and knowledge of a specific occupation to each child's brain based on aptitude testing and societal needs.
I see. So if we are short of doctors, Phase 2 will create more doctors, correct?
That's right, Linda. Or accountants, or farmers, or whatever is needed at the time. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, this will lead to nearly zero unemployment, with the added benefit of a more balanced economy.
I guess it's a good thing we are already trained to do our jobs. I don't know about you, but I think I'm too old to have a SIM installed and embark on a new career.
Yes, the advantage of having the SIM installed at birth is that since the brain is still forming, the device is involved in all of the neural connections as they are being made. For older persons whose neural networks are already formed, the benefits are much less pronounced. Hello, and good evening from Action 8 News. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis. Here are today's top news stories for August 16th, 2061.
The Mars colonization project reached another milestone today, as the colony reached a population of 10,000. Well, Linda, I guess it's only fitting that this is the last broadcast of Action 8 News. With the advent of SIM technology, it seems that people no longer need to tune in to catch up on the latest world and off-world events. So as one new era begins, an old one fades out of existence.
Yes, Sal, we've seen quite a few changes since we started here. I have to say, it has been a pleasure and an honor working alongside you over the years.
Linda, the pleasure has been all mine. And to our viewers, we can only hope that you have enjoyed watching us as much as we have enjoyed bringing the news to you. For both of us, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for watching Action 8 News. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis.
Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this Emergency Jessie session. As you're probably aware, civilian communication systems have been disrupted worldwide. We've just received confirmation from Stereo 1 that an enormous solar flare erupted earlier today. This is the only picture the satellite was able to transmit before we lost contact. As you can see, this is much larger than anything we've ever experienced before.
Holy that thing must be 1/3 the diameter of the sun.
Exactly. So now we must prepare for a potential CME event of unimaginable proportions. Direction and magnitude won't be fully known until it reaches the Discover 5 satellite here at L1. Our best estimate is 2 days from now, sometime after 1900 hours. At that point, we'll have less than 1 hour until impact with Earth's atmosphere. In the meantime, we need to ground all aircraft, idle anything that relies on GPS for navigation, and contact all power providers and tell them, bring down their grids. Let me remind you, this is a global event, so each of your countries needs to take appropriate action.
What about the Mars colony? Without the protection of an atmosphere, even a glancing blow from this could be catastrophic in terms of X-rays.
Unfortunately, even if we could get a message to them in time, there's nowhere for them to go to escape it.
Hi, I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis. Hey Sal, what day is it anyhow? Oh, that's right. It's September 25th, 2089.
First of all, we don't know if anyone will ever see this recording. Earth and Mars have both been hit by a massive CME event that has destroyed virtually all satellite communications, damaged power grids, sparked multiple fires, and most importantly, rendered all SIM chips inoperable. This reliance on technology has basically created a single point of failure for the entire human race, since we have abandoned older forms of communication such as reading, writing, or speaking in favor of direct mind-to-mind communication. Now without the SIM, or a network over which to transmit information, communication has become nearly impossible. Since Linda and I never had SIM chips installed, we are apparently among the select few that can still speak and understand the English language. I'm Sal Hapston.
And I'm Linda Dvorkis.
Good night.